What's up, fishy friends? Rich here, Rich's Fishes, wishing everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. It's Christmas Eve. I'm down in the fish room enjoying a beer real quick. Just had some family over to celebrate and finally got a chance to head down. And we're taking a quick look at the fish room. The camera I typically use to film down here, I just broke a lens. It's a Nikon 1 series camera and I'm getting this weird lens error. And I'm using my new cell phone to film now, and the flash is on, which I don't actually hate the way it looks. I don't typically film with a flash. Usually there's too much glare. Let's see if I can. I think that's a little bit better. It's more of the natural light there. This camera actually seems to work pretty well. It's a new Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge. I had the old Galaxy S5 and just recently got the S7 Edge. Seems to actually take pretty good video. So, since I'm celebrating the holiday and had some family over earlier, I have not been down here to do any water changes today. I'm bending down to show all the waste that's accumulating in this tank, and the fish are getting a little spooked. But here are those Juvie Tiger Turks. It's weird, a lot of them are showing, I think what's called a high body trait. It's not something I typically would seek out. And the breeder I got these from didn't mention anything about it. Most of them seems to have almost grown out of that high body. But that one has kind of kept it for some reason. Not exactly sure why. It doesn't look like the fish is stunted. It's got a peculiar shape, I think I'll say, compared to some of the rest of the fish. Little bit odd. So I'm still waiting for that updated shipment of rams, as I talked about the other day from that guy Coral Bandit. I'm hoping I'll be receiving them very shortly after the holiday, with any luck maybe before the new year, and not after the new year like I had initially thought. But we'll have to wait and see. It's one of the other rams doing real well right now. This camera seems to take good images, but it's having some trouble focusing. I guess it's not quite as fast as my other camera. I'm also having trouble getting it to focus where I want it to focus. Really haven't played with any of the settings on this thing yet, so can't talk too much about that. Over here, the discus that I've been treating. You might notice there's a slight tinge in the water. I did add some Indian almond leaves, as a couple of people had suggested. The day before I added in those Indian almond leaves, it seemed like I was seeing both gills on the fish operate simultaneously again. Right now, it's kind of hard to tell. It's too much of a glare. I get that light on, it's a little better. There you go. Now you can sort of see how stained the water is. I don't know, those gills are still messed up. I am just not sure what is going on with this fish and what I can do to fix it. Still haven't gotten around to doing any maintenance over here on this tank yet either. The angels over here in the 55 are looking real good. Let's see if I can find a way to get past some of the glare. Still a lot of glare, but that's a little bit better. These guys, ever since I removed that third discus, have been doing really, really well. I don't see any problems with them. Nothing to indicate that they might be afflicted with whatever is afflicting that other fish behind me right now. So that baffles me even more. Not that I want to see anything wrong with these fish, but if I had seen something wrong with them, at least I would know there really was some communicable disease that the other fish had that's contagious. But they don't show any signs of anything, so sooner or later I'm going to end up moving them down here with the other the red Turks. These are some of my original red Turks and the last female left from that breeding pair I had a while ago. There's only the 3 fish in this tank currently, with my broken tank brace that I'm going to need to fab up something to fix. I know I can replace the whole tank trim, but I have such tight clearances here, and it turns out that tank trims are slightly different sizes. This 55 gallon up here and that 55 gallon down there are theoretically the same tank size, but because of the difference in the plastic, you can sort of see on this tank how there's a bit of overhang on the black plastic. So this tank, if you measure from this edge to that far edge, is 1/8 of an inch wider than this tank down here. Simply because the plastic trim doesn't overhang to the left nearly as far right there. So when I built this stand down here, I measured using this tank in mind. And I actually wasn't paying attention. After I built the stand, I grabbed this tank up here and tried to put it down there, and it didn't fit. And I thought I had miscalculated my measurements and built something wrong. And it turns out I just measured this tank before building the stand, not realizing that that tank is a slightly different size. So I was very, very surprised to learn that the hard way. So because of that, now that this tank brace is broken, I can't just replace it with those replacement frames, tank braces they called. So I'm going to have to fab up something. I'm not exactly sure what. There's some ways of doing Euro bracing and things like that. There's ways to use some silicone and secure in place a piece of PVC across the top here like that. But usually that gets siliconed to the lip of the tank edge there. And since that broke away with this, I'm not going to be able to do that. Which is very, very, very unfortunate. Because those tank braces are structural and are an integral part of the tank that are not... You can't just ignore them. A lot of people assume because they're so flimsy and because of the fact that you can lean on them and they bend, that they don't really provide any support. But they do provide support from the front to the back. And they prevent that front panel from pulling away from the back panel and blowing out altogether. So there is a risk of this whole tank failing because of that issue. So it is something that should be fixed. That epistogramma trifasciata is coloring up real nice. Showing some yellow back up on that dorsal fin all of a sudden. I wish it would turn. I also wish the glass wasn't so dirty, and I wish the camera wasn't focusing on the glass. So that thing is coloring up real nice. The red cherry shrimp are doing good in here. They're not feeding right now, so they're few and far between and difficult to find, but the more you stare at the tank, the more you can find them here and there. There's a couple up here and a bunch of the plants. A little too tiny for this camera to focus on them well. Same thing that epistogramma I can't focus on all too well either. You can see some of the coloration in the top of the dorsal fin there. There's a blue sheen to the fish too, which is real nice. All the rest of these red cherries up here in the Tetra tank are doing really good too. A couple of them are really striking in color, like that one on the driftwood there underneath the neon. There's another one down there on the sand. So surprisingly enough, this is the tank where the population of the red cherries didn't seem to take off. It took a lot longer to explode than the population had in this particular tank. So it's nice to see that the population is really growing now. Down here, all the endlers are doing good. I think I might have had a few die off on me recently. The tank looks a little less crowded than usual. I didn't notice any dead bodies. It's very possible they just got picked clean before I even noticed them. And anytime I do water test on the tank, everything tests out fine, so I'm not too concerned. But this is a very crowded 10-gallon tank, so I got to make sure that I keep up with water changes in this tank and don't ignore it. I'm also contemplating starting to remove some of the males. If I could grow up a larger population of males, I think those would be easier to sell. The females are kind of drab looking, but I wonder if I shouldn't start pulling the males, putting them into this tank over here where I got that lone Norman's Lamp-eyed Killie, and there's some red cherry shrimp in here as well, hiding in the moss back there. You'll be able to see one. Where did it go? Cruising on the glass somewhere. I think it's too tiny to pick up. Was that assassin snail just there 2 seconds ago? I don't think it was. That was kind of weird. Alright guys, I guess that's it for the Christmas Eve / Christmas Day fish room update. Happy holidays to everybody. Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. Whatever your holiday might be, enjoy it, spend time with your family, be safe, have fun, comment, rate, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.